The new poll numbers are out for new Governor Dan Malloy. They're not pretty, but also no surprise. Here with Christine Stuart, CTNewsJunkie.com. Everyone is sort of having these little fits now about the polls. But as a journalist, I mean, are you really surprised? Here's a guy who cut $3.5 billion, taxed everything under the sun. Of course he's going to be unpopular. What's the big deal?
You're raising taxes. You're going to be unpopular. And, you know, I think he was prepared, that he knew he was going to be unpopular. But you look at governors in other states that had to cover deficits, and they did so by cutting spending, such as Florida. And, you know, his approval rating is 29%. So Dan Malloy's doing better at 38%.
Now, how are they trying to spin this now? What's the governor's spin on these new polls from Quinnipiac?
There wasn't really much spin. I mean, I think that they anticipated this and that they knew that making these hard decisions was going to have some consequences. And I think that it's also the economy, that people are feeling financially insecure, and so they also project that. Now,
here's some reactions from folks on the street about the new poll. Take a look.
I think it would be a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
The real truth is, about 100% of the people, I think, would be angry about what's going on.
Great.
I'm first and 99 more.
I think he's in a rough spot with the bipartisan government and the $3.8 billion deficit that he shoves down our throat all the time. But I think that he did what he could. I personally advocated for paid sick days, so I'm happy about that as well.
Everything a process, so it's going to take time. And, you know, little by little, you see an improvement out here. So hopefully do something good with the job situation, and the rest of the, you know, stuff need to be done out here.
All right, now I heard one comment there about a bipartisan government. Not really, though, right? Truth be told, the first time Democrats control the governor's seat, the House, and the Senate. So it's really not bipartisan at all. They run the table on this, and that's great power for this governor. For the first time in 20 years, is a governor who has significant power.
How's that play? And the Republican lawmakers have been pretty upset about that. I mean, he
surprise, right?
He came in, you know, and he broke bread with them, and he's like, you know, you're going to have a seat at the table. There's no good ideas that are Republican or Democrat. They're just good ideas. Right. And that went out the window very quickly.
Were you surprised at that? Out. Because sometimes, even when you control the House and the Senate and the governor's seat, you sometimes pretend, you want to make good that you're pretending to get along with the Republicans. You're surprised he didn't even give in. Yeah, were you surprised at that? Because I found it to be startling. He didn't even try to pretend to reach out to the GOP. Just did his things his own way.
He did, and Larry Kudlow has become fond of saying, you know, it's Dan Malloy's world, we're just living in it.
Any kind of ramifications for that? You know, when you lead that way, what's the potential? I guess he has 4 years to kind of make it work, right?
He's got 4 years to make it work. So this was his first budget, his first legislative session. So I think he's getting his bearings, and we'll see what happens.
Let's take a look at the poll numbers, the breakdown, what folks like and didn't like. So 38% of the voters were impressed, which I guess is the backhand way of saying that 60-some-odd or 50 were not. But only 38% were impressed with how he handled his business. Folks seem to like the paid sick days, right?
Yep, they did.
Medical marijuana.
Yep.
That's a big deal for Connecticut. Your thoughts?
Decriminalizing marijuana.
Decriminalize, right. Okay. What did I say, medical?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. That's next year. They're working on that, right? Your thoughts now? Those are two significant things for Malloy to achieve.
They are. They have been worked on for years at the legislature, though, and it kind of had reached the point where maybe the boiling point where they had the Democratic majority and the Democratic governor to be able to get them done. So, you know, Connecticut is a fairly liberal state, and so these are two fairly liberal policies that people approve of.
Biggest surprise for you of everything that got passed? Anything that really struck you?
Anything that really struck me? No.
I'll tell you mine.
Which?
That health care situation, that $800 and $900 million Yukon health care expansion.
Oh, the bond expansion.
I was shocked that they were able to get that passed at a time when the state is cutting $3.5 billion. They added basically another $1 billion to enhance Yukon Medical. Your thoughts on that, how he pulled that off?
Yeah, that is the biggest public works project since Adrian's Landing. So there wasn't a lot of scrutiny. It happened May 17th. He made this announcement, and then all of a sudden they're passing it in the beginning of June.
It's huge, right?
It is. It is big. It is big. I mean, Governor Rell had done some previous work on it, so they keep saying that it's only an additional $254 million in bonding, but that's still big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could change the whole landscape of Connecticut and the identity from an insurance capital to more of a healthcare magnet.
It could, but at the same time, the federal health care is pushing people out of hospitals and forcing them to get preventative care. And so that's what's being funded. So having hospital beds isn't really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. But they're bringing all these researchers and all these high-profile jobs. They're saying they're going to bring a lot of high-profile jobs, and it's more of a jobs bill. It's equal health care and jobs bill. That's how they're spinning this thing, right? It's more of a way to create high-paying jobs, bring them into the state, and transform the economy here.
Well, health care is one of the few fields that is growing jobs at the moment. So, they will be able to bring people in and research, and that's, I think, what Susan Herbst is trying to do with the entire university.
President.
Yes.
You
And
met her yet?
they approved the new tech center, too.
Yes, have you met her yet, the new president?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I saw her at the Jim Calhoun bike race over there. Nice. They're going to have her on the show at some point. So now, comparing governors, you covered Rel, covered Malloy. It's early for this guy. He has a lot of power now with the House and the Senate. Compare and contrast the styles of these two leaders.
The styles, Malloy is definitely a doer. He's a leader. He's somebody who goes out and he accomplishes what he wants to accomplish. Rel was a little bit more laid back, but she had to work with a Democratic-controlled legislature, so there was more negotiating going on.
She was more of a conciliatory, more of a break
there had
bread,
to be
negotiate,
some
right?
give and take,
Right,
yeah.
because she had to, though, right? The difference here is that she had to break bread where he doesn't have to. So the question for Malloy would be, what would happen if he didn't control the House and Senate, right? He couldn't just sort of go out there and bum rush everything. He'd have to work a little bit harder with that.
Well, that should be interesting. Will that happen in 2 years? Will he be forced in the second 2 years of his term to compromise?
Anyone on the horizon when you hear the Republicans whispering and murmuring and grumbling? Do they have anyone they want to start positioning for in the next couple of years to be their person? Is it too early?
I think right now Tom Foley still wants to run again, and he came close within about 6,000 votes. So we'll see.
Malloy now is being compared favorably, sometimes not favorably, with Governor Cuomo in New York and with Christie in Jersey. You mentioned before. New York Times had a big story on Dan Malloy as someone to watch in the future. How's that playing out? How would you compare Cuomo in New York, Christie in Jersey, and Malloy here in CT?
Well, they both have better approval ratings right now than he does, but I think Dan Malloy is probably looking onward towards the future. So it should be interesting to see. I don't know if Cuomo or Christie are really looking to...
With the onward meaning politically, you think this guy has other political ambitions besides being governor? You do? Where?
Yes.
For 20 seconds, where?
White House.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you do. Want to see president, huh?
Yeah.
Why not, I guess, right?
Why not?
Got to think big, okay.
Yep.
That's pretty good. All right, I like that. All right, I'm going to bring you back. Christine Stuart, CTNewsJunkie.com. When we come back, folks, we'll talk about a banner year for UConn baseball. Our sports maven Scott Gray joins us for a wrap-up. Don't forget to check us out at ctnow.com/Stan. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, too.